Okay, we are making the sweet chili chicken dip. These are the ingredients that you're going to need, and I'll go over it in the next clip as well. All right, so we are making our sweet chili chicken dip. All right, so this is just 1 pound of ground chicken. All right, you're going to need some jalapenos. You don't have to use jalapenos if you don't want to, but I like it spicy. All right, so I have 2 here. You're gonna need an onion. We may only use half, but I'll see. You're gonna need 4 ounces of cream cheese. All right, and cut them into cubes. It makes it easier for you to mash in the pot. Okay, and you're gonna need 1 tablespoon of butter. And you're also going to need some oil of choice. I would suggest avocado oil or grapeseed oil. I'm using grapeseed oil because it has a higher boiling point, and it's more economical. All right, so I can put this actually in the pot from now. All right, so the pot is already heating up. This is a cast iron that I have here. Okay, I'll put them here. My spatula. All right, so I'm gonna put all these to the side, and I'm going to start throwing the chicken in while I cut these up. Okay, so let's put this to the side. All right. All right. All right. So I use my hands when I cook. All right. So I'm just going to take it out and I'm just going to put it right into the pot. All right. And the pot is on like a medium heat. All right. I've actually never used this kind of burner setup. I like to use fire, but this is more safe when you're videoing. So, okay. And just by the way it sizzles, I can tell that I can use some more heat, which I'm going to. Okay. All right, and this is pretty economical as well. I eat it as a meal or as a dip. Okay. When you're doing that, it's just gonna like start to spring its own water. Okay, at this point, I am speeding up the clip because I'm going to be cutting up the jalapenos and the onions, and I'm just cutting them small and coring them. If you want it more spicier, you can actually leave some of the seeds. I do like it spicy, so if some seeds get in there, I'm totally fine with that. So I am just chopping up 2 of the jalapenos, and then I will also be chopping up the onions. Um, and then from there, once I chop everything up, I'm actually going to be putting it into a mini chopper so that way it can mince it very small. I usually try to keep my cooking space pretty clean. And as you can see, the chicken is starting to cook and it starts to spring its own water, but you just let it do its thing. It's going to be springing its own water, and then you're going to wait till that dry up before you add your seasoning. And as you can see, I am just moving it around so that way it's cooking evenly. And then I'm going to continue to chop my seasoning. Stove with like fire. But this is the first time I'm actually using this. I bought this a couple months ago in preparation to start recording. I saw it for a good price at one of my favorite stores, Lidl. Okay. So some parts of this I am doing a voiceover because this video recording was actually pretty long because I was doing an Instagram live at the same time I was recording this. So this was my actual first YouTube video. So while I'm cutting up all of the seasoning, I am just getting everything ready. I'm letting the meat cook. And I like to let the meat cook down because that's how you get all your seasoning to really infuse within it. So as I cut those onions up and then I'm going to chop it, the next thing I'm going to be doing is adding in the cream cheese, and you will see all of that. I'm still trying to get used to the whole editing thing. Right now I'm showing the chips that I normally eat with it, and that is from Trader Joe. It's a grain-free chips. I'll show it again later, so you guys can take a look. But for the most part, this is an easy meal to grab and go during the week. All you need is to just throw it in a container and you can have it with some celery or what have you. But just keep watching. You're going to see it all come together.
So now I can actually move this out of the way. Actually, I'll leave it. No big deal. All right, so my chicken pretty much is drying out, and this is going to be the best time to start adding my seasonings. All right. And I have this on a highlight from like over a year ago. When I made it, I was just kind of like recording at the same time. But you can get an idea. You can, do what you feel is necessary. You can make it your own. A lot of my recipes, you can make it your own. All right. So I'm using some wood fire garlic seasoning from Kinder's. I love Kinder seasoning. They have like a buttery steakhouse seasoning that's so good too. And you can find these at Costco. But if you don't have this, that's fine. Just use garlic powder. All right. Slap your mama. Okay. I'm a seasoning girl. Okay. I like to put things together. All right. So there's a method to the madness. All right. Using some onion salt. All right. You can get this from Trader Joe. And like I showed you guys, this is the sweet onion, excuse me, not sweet. It's a chili onion crunch from Trader Joe. They usually have this. This usually sells out. So if you see it, pick it up. And this too is from Trader Joe. It's chili pepper sauce. So you can actually make my dip just with these items, or you don't even have to use this. Use the chili pepper sauce, use your onions, and then maybe a little sweetener to make it sweet. All right, so now that my stuff dried down a bit, I'm gonna start to add a little seasoning, not too much. I like to add seasoning as I go, so that way I have an idea of what I'm working with, because as you start adding these things, your seasoning is gonna get watered down, okay? Because I've heard some people say like, oh, I made that, it didn't taste as good as when I had it at your house. And I'm like, okay, what's your technique? All right, so I'm just adding some seasoning. All right, I actually should put this back on this little thing that I brought here to keep myself organized. All right, I'm adding a little salt. And a little pepper. Okay, this dried down so beautifully. Yeah. And I'm using a cast iron pot because it's a heavier pot, so I feel like it conducts heat better. Especially that I'm cooking on this this topper that I've never cooked on before, so I wanted to make sure that my food is cooking evenly. All right, now I actually can I'm gonna make like a little well in the middle. And it's time to add our seasoning, okay? Eventually you're gonna start tasting. You just don't wanna taste now though. It don't make any sense. All right, so now you want to cook down your cut up seasoning, okay? So this is your jalapenos and your onions. If you don't have jalapenos, just use onions. Use whatever you want, but definitely use onions, okay? So you wanna make sure that they get a little translucent. I feel like I need a little bit more oil for this seasoning, but I'm gonna let that cook down because I'm actually learning as I'm doing this live how this heat works, so I don't want to do too much. All right, so after this cooks down, we're gonna be adding in our cream cheese, and I did cut it into cubes. I think I have like 6 cubes here. This is 4 ounces. So how I gauge it, because I like my sweet chili to be like thick. And you're gonna see like when you make it, it's gonna be a little thick, but it gets thicker as it cools. So you want to be mindful of that. And I found like a good, easy measuring is if you have 1 pound of chicken, just use half a bar of cream cheese, which is 4 ounces. All right. And then when I'm adding in the cream cheese, that's when I'm going to add in the butter. Because when you're using cream, you want to make sure that you have a butter with it. Because if you don't, it starts to separate. All right. So your goal is going to be like to mash it. And as it gets warm, you're going to mash it some more and then you're going to throw in your butter. So that way it can blend in easier. You ever make something and it seems like the cream separated from itself and it's looking a little weird? It's because you let the cream get too hot and you didn't have a good fat source to mix with it. So this is also a good technique when you're making Alfredo sauce. All right, so let's start adding some of these cubes of cream cheese. I hope I am in the frame. I think I am in the frame for this YouTube here. All right. All right. So I just let the heat get to it so that way it can start to soften. And I use like the back of my spoon to start like mashing as it softens. So at this point, I've already added the cream cheese and I'm letting the heat get to the cream cheese so that way it can start to soften. I like to soften the cream cheese by just putting the meat right on top of it. Right now, I was doing an IG live at the same time, so I was adjusting it in the frame so they can see it. But as you can see, once the cream cheese get heated up, it makes it easier to mash. And you're going to use the back of your spoon just to mash. And you really are just trying to combine everything. Um, and I know it looks pretty thick right now, but it's going to loosen up when you add the chicken broth or bone broth, whatever you decide to use. So the cream cheese will thicken even though you're adding liquid. And you want to start with a little liquid at a time. Um, Once you do that, you're going to let it bubble and come together. And by that point, you can kind of make your assessment. So right now, I'm ready to add the sweet chili onion, and that's from Trader Joe's. So I'm just gonna scoop a couple spoons, um, maybe like 2 or 3. You'll see. 2. All right, put that to the side. All right, and this is the chili pepper sauce. So I usually kind of like douse it a bit. West Indian people, we just don't be measuring, which is the challenge in trying to write this cookbook because we just don't measure. All right, so I kind of maybe that's like a teaspoon, 2. All right, maybe like a tablespoon. All right, and then I usually like mix it around because I'll just know by the color and also when I season it some more and then you taste it, you're gonna know what else do I need, what else do I need. And I'm gonna turn down this heat a bit because, all right, so it looks like I'm gonna need to use some more chili sauce. So let's call it 1/4 cup. Yeah, let's call it that. Maybe 1/4. Maybe. I don't know. I'll show you guys this on the live, how this is looking so far, because we're almost done. But then you're going to have to kind of taste as you go to make sure that you have enough seasoning. Okay, and then sometimes, if you ever get to a point when you're cooking and you're like, I don't know, stop. Because it's probably fine. It probably just needs to sit a little while. All right. That's a good rule of thumb. All right. So before I add any more powder seasoning, I'm going to taste it, but I wanted to show you guys first. I may add a little bit more of the sweet chili, but this is how we're looking so far. And you see how it doesn't have that much liquid? All right. And that sauce is gonna thicken as it cools, okay? So I end up adding one more spoonful of the sweet chili sauce, and I had already added the butter when I added the cream cheese, but I added an additional tablespoon. So in total, it's about 2 tablespoons of butter. And you're just mixing it around and adding liquid as you see fit, just to make sure that it's coming together. Now I have the sweet chili sauce here from G. Hughes, and that's going to add the savory to kind of like the sweet to the savory, actually. And if you don't have this sauce, you can add a little sweetener, and that should do it as well. All right, so I'm just going to pour a little. That's probably like what? 2 tablespoons. Ah. All right. Something's telling me to get a little bit more. All right. I'm going to get 1 more ounce of cream cheese. Why am I doing that? I see the butter and everything, and I feel like I don't have enough cream. I could also use heavy cream. Let me see. What do I want to do? 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 I'll just get the cream cheese. If I use the heavy cream, okay, the organic heavy cream is much thicker, so that wouldn't like make it too loose, but I just didn't want to test it. So I'm just using 1 more ounce of cream cheese. Okay. So I end up adding another ounce of cream cheese, but I think in the end, I end up adding the whole bar and added a little bit more liquid just because I wanted it that way. So I'm just mixing everything in, making sure it's fully combined. And with that said, you're pretty much done here. You'll taste it, you'll see if it needs anything else, and you'll add any extra seasoning of your choice. And it should be okay. So just let it come together a little bit. And if it seems like it needs a little bit more liquid, go ahead and add it, and you should be fine. All right, let's see. Yep. It just needs some more of this, and then just leave it alone. Leave it alone. If you making your food and you're like, it has enough salt, it has enough pepper, it has enough seasoning, I don't know, I feel like something is missing, stop. Your food just needs to sit down and chill. And let it chill. And once you let it chill, it's a marriage made in heaven. I'm just gonna have it with the grain-free chips. There's some grain-free chips from Trader Joe. Okay. All right, and these are 17 net carbs per 1 ounce, which is like 13 chips. But like I said, I don't track my macros religiously, so I kind of like judge it. But if you do track, maybe you just use celery and that, because celery is great to get rid of excess water. It has a lot of fiber, and it will keep you full. And if you're in that mood where you feel like you want to binge or whatever like that, you probably shouldn't have the chips, have the celery. It's going to keep you satiated much, much longer. All right.